Okay, so today's task is we're going to take a traditional nursery rhyme and give it a bit of a modern day remix, if you will. So the first step is we're going to open Reason. This is what the logo or the icon looks like. So double click that on your desktops. If it asks you to go into demo mode, then click yes, click demo mode. Okay, so here are some of the windows that I spoke about in the last video. The first thing we're going to do is take one of these instruments and drag it into the rack. So the one I want you to add is called the Subtractor Analog Synthesizer. So hold down the left mouse button on top of it and drag it here into an empty space in the rack. And automatically it's added to your rack. And you can see here the sound that we're going to hear is a bass guitar. So you've all got your keyboards attached, so I'd like you to just press a few keys on the keyboard and see if you get some sound. That's the first task. Pause this video and do that now, please. Okay, so now I'd like to talk a little bit about the keyboard. For those of you who never played keyboards, we're going to do a very simple nursery rhyme today called Merrily We Roll Along. And it's all based on the key of C, which means it's all white notes. How do we find C? Well, if you look, the black notes are arranged into groups of 3 and 2. 3 and 2. And C, or Do in Italian, is the white note on the left-hand side of the 2. So it's this one here. And if you play all the white notes up from there, you've played a C major scale. So here is the song that I want you to play. It's a very simple melody. Just count up 2 from the C that you found and play this. Okay, that's your next task, is to learn that tune. Okay, so now you've learned the tune, we're going to record it into Reason. So I want in your groups one of you to be the performer and one of you to be the recording engineer. So let's have a look. First thing we need to do is turn on the click. And we can do that by clicking here at the bottom, or we can also press the letter C. That turns the click on and off. And the click is just a clicking noise. It's like a metronome, and that is what musicians use to stay in time when they're recording. So if we turn on the click and we press play, we can hear the beat of the song. Okay, so your next task is, I want you to press record and then the other person in the group to perform this melody. So here we go. And then you can press stop. So that's the next task. Pause this video and do that, please. Okay, so now that you've done that, next task is to tidy this up a little bit. So if you look here at the beginning of this, we call these regions. So at the beginning of this note region, you can see, you can use this to move left and right. You can see that there's a little arrow here. If we click and hold that, we can trim or cut that down so it's the right size for the melody. So I'm going to trim or cut all of the empty space off there. And then what I want you guys to do is double click this region, like so. And double clicking it, we go into the region itself, and we can change these notes here. Now we're going to do something called quantizing, and that's just a very fancy way of saying we make all the notes hit exactly on the beat. So if we zoom in here, we can see this is my natural performance. These lines here are the beat. And we can see that sometimes I was more or less on the beat, like this one here. Sometimes I was a little bit too early, like on this one here, etc., etc. So the way we do quantizing is we select all of the notes, so you can hold Control and press A, and then we hold Control and we press K. And did you see what happened there? All of the notes suddenly are in the perfect place. So let's have a listen. Press Enter to get out of this edit mode. Let's have a listen from here, from second bar. Click there and listen to it played perfectly. Okay, that's your next task, is to make it perfect like that using quantizing. Okay, now you've done that, we need to give this a modern touch. So let's go back to the rack with F6, and let's add another instrument. So go in the browser. If you can't see the browser, press F3. Go over here to the left where it says Instruments, and we're going to add a loop to make this sound a little bit more modern. So here is the loop player. Drag it into here underneath the bass guitar, and you can see here we have all different categories of loops: bass loops, drums, guitar loops, percussion, and synth loops. I'm going to say let's use drums. And because we want this to be modern, let's use electronic drums. Now you guys can choose any kind of drum sound that you like. I'm going to go for, let's see. Let's go for this one, see what happens. So this is playing this loop here, number 1. If you press play, you can hear it. I'm going to turn off the click. Okay, so this is the first loop. If you press 2, you can hear the second loop. So I want you to go through the loops and find one that you like by pressing these different numbers. If you want to try a completely different loop, then drag it from the browser over the Dr. Octorex loop player, and it will load it automatically. Then press play. Maybe not. Also, let's maybe try dubstep. Okay, I like that one. So, by the way, instead of clicking play every time, you can use the space bar to play and stop. So I'm going to press the space bar to listen to this. Okay, I like that. So let's go to the sequencer by pressing F7. We can move this to the beginning. We can move the play head to the beginning, which is where the play will start from. And we can click play to listen to our new beat and bass line. Okay, so that's your next step. Okay, final step for today is to change the sound of the bass guitar. So let's go back to the rack with F6 and click the bass guitar. Oops. And here we can scroll through the different kinds of sounds. So let's go back to the beginning by double-clicking the stop. Okay, that was a little bit too crazy for me. You couldn't really hear the melody, so let's try the next one by pressing the up arrow here. Warm pad. Let's see. Okay, so your last task today is to find a bass sound that you like, or a subtractor sound that you like, and add that to the song. And then don't forget to save.